PMO itself. The purpose was that we had tremendous amount of knowledge. We had some things happen in the ground. Okay, so that's an answer to him. I hope you'll all have a look at this report. You're free to come and just to get our facts right. The first thing that's happening is we talked about 62 million tons. I'm only going to talk about India, okay, and about the whole sector in totality, but as fast as I can. 62 million tons covers only 377 million people in the urban area. That means, and that to be calculated by saying, 450 grams is what every person generates every day. Okay? Yeah. So that's where this figure comes from. The next one is what's been sort of projected, 165 million based on this data only, okay? And 436 million tons by 2022. Now, we'll get into this later, but I just want to mention here that unless and until we are very sure of what is coming, because I'm going to show you a few tables where anyway, I've deleted much of it, but I just wanted to share with you cities with 2 million population and above, and cities with 1 to 2 million population, so that you can actually see how it looks like and what actually is the decision that can be taken with respect to waste disposal, waste management in totality. Okay, so that gives you a glimpse of how we can deal with it. Okay, now as far as our urban development ministry is concerned, it talks about 70 million. And when you actually get information from cities, because we are in a Metropolis sort of a conference where cities become so very important for us, and of the big list, we have 3 of our major cities. In the morning it was talked about Calcutta, Delhi, and Mumbai. But then our population is nowhere around that 5 million which our president talked about. So there are two heavily populated areas. Okay. Now, if you look at all the figures we have, 62 million tons annual generation. This is the landfill side. Apologetically, I will have to say that we still are looking forward to a fantastic sanitary landfill. So they don't seem to exist, and we actually. That's another thing I want to mention here, that the municipal solid waste management rules are being amended. Okay, and it's going to probably become a 140-page rule with all the possible options that we can ever have put in there. But that's how it will become if each one of us want to argue about one particular aspect. Okay, rules need not have all what we feel like should be actually reflected there. But anyway, that's being amended. So let's go into note, and it might be the draft will be on the website very soon. This is the sort of land we require. We don't have any land around. Forget about even the NIMBY syndrome. We don't have land for this sort of a thing. And which switch are beyond now? What will it be like? Where will it go? Collect it. Currently we collect 60%. We're not very bad. There's sort of a projection by most of the people who speak about this subject is that, we're too bad. We're not very good at recycling. We're not also good at collection. We're fine. The urban centers we are talking about, we do reach about 60% collection wherever the municipal corporation has put in their heart and soul. But then it stops there. Just the collection. That I'm sure was the concern that was expressed as to what would happen, when it is only collected, and then what happens to the whole waste. So this is what we wanted to put out and say, no matter how you think, we don't have that sort of a land. So we have to look at disposal options that would actually work. Okay? Now, this is just to tell you that when you get information from each of the cities, this is what sort of compilation comes up saying 133,000 metric tons per day, and these informations don't match. Okay? Now, what actually was saying, what would come out of all the waste that would come? Is that gold? No, not gold, no, not diamonds. But what it would do? This is what has been actually calculated. It says you could have something like a 329 megawatt of power from that 32,000 odd tons per day of combustible waste, the composition varies. I'm going to go there and tell you because it's very, very important for us to recognize that compared to the rest of the world, our composition from city to city varies, and it is also in an inverse way compared to other countries. I want to mention this to you because it somehow seems to me that in most of the developed world and cities where wealth accumulation is there, the economic status of the people is high, the percentage of biodegradable waste is low. But that's not so in India. Why it is so? We'll all have to think about it. I wonder how we are able to buy, so we waste as much itself. So our percentages in major cities goes up to 60% biodegradable waste. So the whole concept of how the disposal should happen and our thinking itself has to be afresh looked at. Okay. So this is what came about. It said, fine, you can have about 329 megawatt of power from this. You can get about 1.3 million cubic meters of biogas. Okay. And this is the amount of compost that can come. I'm not going to de-stress this. Okay? What do we have today? We have to know what we have. We have about 279 compost plants. We have 172 biomethanation plants, 29 RDF plants, and only 8 waste to energy plants. And you might laugh at it. We don't know how many are really functional. Okay. I was supposed to talk about the integrated solid waste model. So I'm going to get to that now, and I'm going to stick to that. And I have to mention that even if we produce a solution, we get a formula ready for ourselves, at the end of the day, it has to be sustainable. And so we have to be realistic about what we are talking. Okay? Now, so what are the appropriate approaches, systems, technological and financial options for an integrated waste management? Okay. This is one concept. I know a lot has been talked about centralized and decentralized. I won't stress it here. You can go through the report again, but I do want to mention here that we have to consider, okay, we have to consider in India what would become central and what would be decentralized. Okay, we cannot think about, say, our transportation system is such that we will be able to transport long distances and still make it viable. Anybody who tells me that, oh, this will always function with as much viability gap funding and as much as loans with less interest rates and all that. The confidence building measure is that this project has to be viable. Whether it is 6 years time or whatever is the RR period, we will have to reach that. Unless we do that, we cannot generate among our own people, even to come for PPP, to help us out. We have to generate that confidence that this will work. So let's get to something where we can plan in that fashion. Okay. So there has to be something centralized, something decentralized. We're going to talk about that. We have to select appropriate technologies. I know that many of our experts continue to say, including me, that technology is not the bottleneck, right? However, what technology to be used is a bottleneck. That we have to recognize. We cannot use, everywhere we cannot set up waste to energy plants. Let's be very honest with ourselves. Yes, one of the service delivery mode is PPP, and financing is impossible. Now, surprisingly, many consider integrated waste management as something which practically does not cover the collection aspect from door to door, collection aspect and then secondary storages at all. Considering that many think that it's a municipal function, and the municipality also thinks that it's a municipal function, okay? And that the waste should be delivered at the doorstep of the unit, processing unit, let's call it, whatever type of disposal it is what is considered. But then, that is where a lot of our bottlenecks appear very, very soon, within a few years, and might be even 6 months, that the sort of waste you want, the composition you want, the quantity you want, doesn't get delivered. So is that we'll all move about and say, come, let's start from A and only then I can run my disposal plant. So that is one consideration that was talked about quite a bit. So I'm just highlighting this for you to say it starts with the door-to-door collection, segregation, secondary storage, transportation. I'm also going to show you one organogram in which I'm going to say what functions can be safely given away to municipality and what we can give it to the PPP mode or be used by private sector. Because it's very important. It may not be the same for every city. We have worked out for 2 million to 500 to hill states. We have worked out all options that's possible of sharing of this responsibility where we think this sort of a sharing responsibility will make the project a success. Okay? So you can look at them.
Waste sector, the industrial waste management sector, the hazardous waste management sector and the municipal solid waste sector, almost all of them came around the same time in trying to catch up. This was around 89-90 when the rules were started being framed, but the implementation schedule started around the year 2000. However, we have seen much better results in the hazardous waste and much better results in the medical waste. Not that we are the best in the country or best in the world, but we have seen some sizable results in both these sectors. But we have not seen any level of success in municipal solid waste. Even to claim that there is some success would be an overstatement. Today, we are at probably 0 level, 1% level in terms of where we should be on municipal waste. And the primary reason is attributable to the fact that polluter pay principle as a concept has not kicked in well in this particular sector, and that's the root of the problem. And I'm telling this with an experience of 1 million tons of industrial hazardous waste that Ramki is already handling, 8,000 tons or about 3.5 to 4 million tons of municipal solid waste that we're handling, 12,000 industries being catered to, 20,000 hospitals that we're catering to, 220,000 hospital beds that we're managing the waste for, and in all the industrial, municipal and electronic waste that we manage, we have seen that unless there is an identified polluter who's charged with a responsibility that if you do not manage, it is a crime. And today, if you look at the law says municipal solid waste has to be managed. The outer deadline was 2003 December. Now 2003 December is already a decade over. Where are we? How many municipalities are compliant? I can confidently say it is 0. Not even one municipality in the country today can proudly say we are totally compliant with municipal solid waste rules. Either they are failing on source segregation, or they are failing on door-to-door collection, or they are failing on collection and transport, and for sure in many cases, treatment and disposal. Everything is a failure. And why is it that there is no accountability charged? It's primarily because government remained to be the polluter, and government had the accountability of taking care of this, and the implementing agency also remained to be government. That resulted in a situation where the net result is we could not achieve any progress in the municipal solid waste sector. You know, as I keep saying, environment is top on the social agenda for us in India, but it's not at all on top of the economic agenda. We talk, I mean, if we go to any doorstep and we see where we stand, we actually notice that municipal solid waste is probably one of the top hot topics. I'm sure all of you would have been driving in a car, in a bicycle or on a motorbike, when you would see that every truck in India is actually overflowing with garbage. It's spilling leachate, it's polluting, it's smelling, and you actually want to either go behind the truck by at least 40-50 meters or cross the truck and go away, because you cannot handle a truck in front of you. That's the reality of municipal solid waste in India. Same is the case with water. If you go to many countries in the world, where do we pick up a glass of water from? 90% it is in the bathroom. There is a tap, and you probably pick up water from that tap and drink because you're confident that what the hotel is providing is potable water. You're confident that the hotel is providing water that is given by the municipality of that particular locality. How many of us in India have the courage to drink water from a bathroom tap? Forget bathroom tap. Can we drink from the municipal tap that is coming? 90% of us sitting in this conference room here would probably be having a softener and an RO plant on the top of our house, which we use only to bathe. We don't use that water to drink. That's the unfortunate reality of water situation, and the unfortunate reality of sewage is not 1 liter of sewage in the country today can claim it is treated to the discharge standards. It is treated and discharged into some water bodies, and you measure it after it is diluted adequately, then only it can reach the discharge standard. So quite unfortunate that we have it very high on the social agenda. It's absolutely not linked to the economic agenda. Very similar situation exists in solid waste. Not one municipality in the country can proudly claim they are in compliance with municipal solid waste rules. And unfortunately, if you look at urban local bodies are created for civic amenities. And civic amenities predominantly mean water, sewage and solid waste. And these are the three neglected parts of the urban local bodies. And it needs to catch up very fast. I'm sure bridges, roads, parks, street lighting are all very important, but civic amenities are all the more important. And those are completely neglected today and need to be catch up. If you look at where we stand today, out of the 180 to 200,000 tons of waste that is generated, which could quadruple in about 15-20 years. Because today we are at the low end of what we are generating, half a kg per head per day, likely to move up to 1 kg per head per day. Urban population could move up from 30 crores today to about 60 crores, which means we are doubling up both the population and the quantity of waste generation. So the total quantity of solid waste is likely to be 4 times in about 15-20 years. We are not able to handle 1% of what is generated today. When it becomes 4 times, it doesn't make a big difference. We move from 1% to 0.25, but that still is a serious problem which we need to address. And where do we stand in terms of current practices? If you look at the door-to-door collection, primary collection, in a very unhygienic manner, in a very uncovered manner, and in a very unorganized fashion. Some places the community does it, some places NGO organizations do it, some places municipalities do it, some places people bring it to the dustbin. So it's in a very unorganized, very unsystematic, not in a hygienic fashion. Secondary collection, 90% of it is in open dump points. 10% there are bins. And almost all the bins are overflowing. None of the bins are picked up when they are 80% full or 70% full. They're typically picked up out there, they are 150 to 200% full. You will have to pick up some waste from the ground. You can't pick it up all from the bin. That's the reality of secondary collection. There are no transfer stations except in 1 or 2 cities. And even the transfer stations that are there are actually transfer dump points. You bring it to one dump point and transfer it to another dump point. That's a transfer station. There's really no transfer station that's happening. And if you look at the treatment and disposal, it's predominantly open dumping. Maybe 2 to 5% is trying to find some scientific solution, but even that 5 to 10% scientific solutions are questionable in terms of their ultimate solution, what they are delivering. The techno-commercial viability is not established till now. Tipping fee is still not an accepted concept, which is a serious matter of concern. Most of the projects that have come either on zero tipping fee or on royalty either have not come or have shut down. This is the reality of municipal solid waste, and technological solutions, I'm sure all of us who are into this sector know there are multiple technologies, and surprisingly all these technologies are extremely age-old. I know in my village my grandfather used to practice some of these technologies. What is composting? Composting used to be a pit-based composting which happened in villages 50-60 years back. Vermicomposting happened in villages 40-50 years back. What is RDF? Cow dung being packed on a wall was actually refuse being converted into dried fuel. They were just trying to remove the water from cow dung and convert it into nice fuel. So these are all very age-old technologies, converting it into power, converting it into biogas. The biogas plants in villages were the most common. So most of the technologies are well known. We can theoretically compute what can come out of each of these. But what does it cost for us to get there is one question that has never been tried to address. And today, we do not have answer to any of these questions. What is the cost of a power plant? What is the cost of a waste to energy plant? What is the cost of a biogas plant? What is the cost of a composting plant? What is compost supposed to be sold at? Are we having techno-commercial solutions? Now, government should probably step forward and bring some model plans. Through an academia and the government interface, we need to bring some reliable solutions which are replicatable. Otherwise, it's going to become a challenge. Everybody is going to put out numbers. If I compute municipal solid waste, what is the composition of municipal solid waste? It's got some paper, it's got some plastic, it's got some metal, it's got some glass, it's got some aluminum, it's got some organic matter and some inorganic matter. If I separate all of these and multiply the product value of each of these, paper multiplied by 6 rupees per kg, plastic multiplied by 10 rupees per kg, aluminum multiplied by 20 rupees per kg, and compute the sum total of this, extremely valuable product. Extremely valuable. But how reality is it to actually see that we can actually compute all of this together and see the net result of this combination? The cost of segregating them is much higher than the sum total of this value. And that is a reality. And this is a reality globally. A world has completely experienced this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. The cost of segregating is more energy consuming than the energy generated out of it. More resource consuming than the resource generated out of it. As a result of that, tipping fee is proven concept that it is required. There is no country which is able to meaningfully dispose the waste. And you'll be surprised, globally the tipping fees are moving in the range somewhere between 60 to 70 US dollars to 150 to 200 US dollars. We in India are still living in a royalty-based regime where half of the contracts that are awarded today have at least a 5 to 10 rupee royalty to the municipal corporation, and the remaining maybe 20-30% of the contracts have a tipping fee close to about $8 to $10 a ton. And that's grossly inadequate. With $8 to $10 itself, you're at the brink of whether you can actually manage it. Now, people are expecting that it should be paid by someone else. Why should the power department pay for it? Why should the fertilizer department pay for it? Why should the recycling product department pay for it? It should be paid by the municipality who is the consumer of this service. And it intends to offset this through compensatory mechanism, like a power department. Everybody is hoping that waste to energy should be paid 10 rupees, 8 rupees. There's a hope. All of us want. I want. I mean, not all of us. Every one of us here want that we want the power tariff to be 8 rupees per kilowatt hour. Why? It's the municipality's responsibility to get rid of the waste. It's a duty. To perform this duty, it's going to cost a certain amount of money. And there is going to be a techno-commercial viability to that particular solution, which is what we need to bring. If you look at all the technologies have been already tried. If you look at composting, composting was tried as early as 25-30 years back. Quite a few number of plants came up between 96 to 2000. They came up in Vijayawada, they came up in Mysore, they came up in Bangalore, they came up in Pune. Quite a few composting plants have come up. Why are they not successful? Is it the technology? Is it the yield? Is it the price? What are the reasons why this is not successful in the country? Half of them have already shed. 80% of them have shed. Less than 20% of them are operational today. It has shed because of 4 reasons. One, the yield of compost has been grossly inadequate. We're talking of yields ranging between 6 to 10%. 20 to 30% escaping as moisture. What is happening to the remaining 60? It's remaining there. Which the primary objective, which is volume reduction, has actually not adequately happened. One. Number 2, people have offered royalty. It's impossible to operate a composting plant with royalty. The energy consumed in converting organic matter into compost is extremely high. And you will need a tipping fee to get it done. All of them didn't have tipping fees. So therefore, the technology didn't fail. It's not that the technology failed, it's the techno-commercials that failed. Look at RDF. RDF again is the same situation. There have been RDF plants that came as early as 98. Department of Science and Technology put up the first plant in Bombay. Right. And then they expanded it in Gandamguda, in Vijayawada, in Guntur. Again, these plants also failed. Again, why? If you see, the end user has to be a power plant. And most of the power plants that came up that support the RDF remain to be biomass-based power plants, not actually the waste-to-energy-based power plant. Whether that's the right technology, this is the right technology, again is a question. Ultimately, our objective was to burn this waste or convert this waste into energy. And if you look at waste-to-energy, there are multiple methods. You can produce energy through a thermal process, through a biochemical process, or through a chemical process. All of them have been tried globally. More often, combustion remained to be the most senior among all of these technologies. It delivered the maximum number of plants globally. We have seen a lot of them operational. A lot of them are operational very, very well. At what cost? There are power plants that came up in India. The earliest power plant, waste-to-energy power plant, came up as early as 1987 in Timarpur, which actually was put up by government and Danish collaboration. Not doing well. It's already closed. We had first generation power plants in Hyderabad and Vijayawada. Both of them came up probably around the 5-6 crore per megawatt range. Both of them assumed the biomass kind of waste to energy technologies. Both of them have tried RDF followed by waste to energy. Most of them are struggling, seriously struggling. Either they are operational partly or shut down for want of repair and maintenance cost improvement in technology. The biomethanation plant in Lucknow was Prime Minister Vajpayee's dream project. He wanted to do it in his constituency and put up the biochemical project. That again failed. The plant in Okla today is probably the most cogent representation of what we are likely to see as waste-to-energy project in India in the near future. This is roughly coming up at a cost of 13, 14, 15 crore per megawatt. Now at this price, are these power plants going to be viable? Are the power tariffs good enough? For this plant, I'm sure it's not. For the plant in Okla, it certainly is not adequate. But what are the power tariffs at which it's going to be viable? What's the tipping fee at which it's going to be viable? And future plans will be necessary to have tipping fee and preferential tariffs. So this is a change that we will need to get. Most of the technologies are all being tried, but certainly we're not seeing very good results. There are certainly some positive initiatives. The GHMC's initiative on municipal solid waste, I would certainly believe, is one of the most proactive and positive initiative. The Okla plant is a very positive initiative, except some issues on neighborhood. Dump capping projects in Gorai and Agra are very positive initiatives. The anaerobic digestion plant in Coimbatore and few other projects of composting are quite positive initiatives, but the policy interventions and the intentions of government need to get themselves straight to see that we get to the right results. But what we are seeing is it's not possible. India as a country cannot bring the solution by itself. There needs to be serious policy level changes, because if you look at any municipality with a population of 100,000, their budget is in the range of 7 to 10 crores. And what all they have to do, in addition to the salaries of the people, they'll have to do treated water, they'll have to do sewage, solid waste management, street lighting, roads, drains, parks, slum development, economic improvements, health, education, and salaries. And you'll be surprised that the environmental budget itself, if you have to manage them even in a mediocre fashion, would require close to 40-50 crores of capex and about 15 crores of opex every year. So they cannot even manage the environment department with the budgets they have. How are we going to expect them to solve the problem of the country? It's just impossible. It's either the state government or the central government that have to own the responsibility and do it, and not leave it on the municipalities. Only the 7 metro cities in the country have budgets good enough to handle this. All others don't have budgets good enough to handle this, and they need to change. And there need to be a lot more changes that come, and more specifically, PPP will be the possible solution, and they will need to come up with a balanced approach. Today, the PPP are very one-sided. The developer is considered as a contractor, government is considered as a client. It's not a client-contractor relationship, it's a partner-partner relationship that has to come, which is unlikely to happen in the near term. Even today, this is this reality. We need a regulator who is different from the partner, and partnership has to work as partner. So to summarize, I think there are many technical solutions, but they need to be customized to every suitable requirement, and there needs to be tipping fee. All solutions are possible, but they need to be suited to the respective locations, and urban local bodies need to work with state governments to get viability gaps, and regulatory framework has to be strengthened, and tipping fee, I believe, is absolutely essential to make it in the right direction. So thank you all very much. I'll now request We'll have a small video presentation of Dr. Janardhan Reddy, who has not been able to make it here. We'll just go through that, and then we can have a few minutes of questions. I guess while they're trying to fix up any questions, I think we can probably take them up.
Good evening to all of you. I am Murugan, Deputy General Manager from Civil College. A questioner from Dr. Nirani. I would like to let you a lot of exercise of regard to central level. Whatever the development you have done, there is a missing link between the development and the information to the people. So I think the propaganda management should be improved. The urban areas, you have about rural areas. They are not aware about the waste management. Not a single person talk about this. So at least now itself is to take a pledge. Recently, a senior citizen man, the association, taken this issue, wanted to take up this So I request you, this forum should take a pledge, see that it should be a part of the curriculum of the institutes, and you should come out from your this office, you should come to the public and create a public awareness. I'll give you one example. I made a simple study. Around 150 rice millers are there in Warangal area, and 100 are there. The water the rice husk is there, it's simply wasted. They are burning. They are giving to the big kilns. They are polluting more atmosphere. I have tried that. Suppose 150 rice come together. I tried to persuade them. Megawatt power. And then, so I request
Appreciate.
Good evening to all. I'm Shrikesh. I'm Commissioner Municipal Corporation Karimnagar, recently joined there. So I cannot agree more with the speaker that the finances of the municipal corporations are very less for taking up all the loans. My question is, what happens if I have some land available? Land is available. I'll put all my dump there under say 7 meters or 10 meters down below the ground, and I'll beautify that place. What are the hazards in this?
It's completely polluting because once you put it on the ground, there's going to be rain. Rain will percolate through the waste, go and contaminate the groundwater. And groundwater is typically transient. It's not constant. When the groundwater is moving to the neighborhood, there is an end user who is tapping it. He may be either tapping it for an agriculture purpose or for a drinking water purpose or bathing or for any purpose. And the hazards are quite dangerous unless it is completely lined landfill, which completely takes care that leachate does not percolate through. It is not a safe solution. However, that probably is the cheapest solution. Let me tell you that landfills are the cheapest solution in India, but by law, directly landfilling is prohibited. You have to process the waste and recover as much organics as possible before the inerts and the rejects can be landfilled. That's the law today. And that's because, as Dr. Indrani presented, we will require huge extent of land every year if we have to get rid of the waste like that. But we've been getting rid of waste like that for many, many years already. So it doesn't mean that we cannot spend some more years like that. But it's not a recommended solution.
I'm a professor, I'm head of the department in Computer Science and Engineering Industry. I'm also having an NGO for this. My question is for the Janwani madam. You said wet waste and then compost. What do you mean by wet waste? What do you do with that wet waste? After segregation, you will be having wet waste. What do you do? And the compost, your compost pit, you are like about compost pit. That means you are digging a pit and then by that process you are creating methane, that is the gas, which is greenhouse. So I want to answer for this.
For composting, we are using 2-3 different methods. One is organic waste converter, which is the machine. Like there is a space constraint. Then we have a compost pit. Then we have a rotating drum machines. So these are the different technologies we are using for composting. What you are saying is true, but I don't think so. The methane is generating to that large extent. We are having a decentralized plant of having capacity 500 1 ton per acre.
That's what we are asking households to segregate the waste in the house. We are asking them to keep plastic in the house, paper in the house, iron in the house, everything is keep in the house, and bio-waste like all the food materials, have a pit in the house itself, and put in the pit and cover the pit. So that is the solution. Is there any problem for that type of solution? Sir, for Gautam Reddy.
So, see, I mean, the pit being unlined, there could be some amount of leachate, but it certainly is one of the old technologies of anaerobic digestion and converting the waste into compost through anaerobic digestion. And it used to be followed in villages, but it just has some pollution measures. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. The next session, people are all waiting outside the door. So I, unfortunately, have to close this session. Thank you all very much for being here. We can chat outside the room, so that will